They were the Barbie and Ken of Georgia. She was the beautiful blonde mother of 4, and he was a loving, devoted father as well as a deacon of his church. However, what led to his murder? Could it have been his wife? Could it have been his best friend? Who knows? But let's find out right now. Happy Thriller Thursday, my Cajun cuties. Yes, it's me, Anne-Marie, aka the Cajun Crime Queen from Carrincou, Louisiana. Cajun born, Cajun bred, and when I die, I'll be Cajun dead. I hope after this video that you like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to press on that notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne-Marie. I hope you have a beverage. I hope you have a snuggle partner or a snuggle fur partner. Those are the best, and you're ready to hear a true crime case with yours truly. And as always, I want to know, are y'all drinking that water? Are y'all staying hydrated? Are y'all getting those tickers up? Remember, just a quick 20-30 minute walk, especially first thing in the morning, get those endorphins up, and you are going to have an amazing, wonderful day, I promise you. And I want to thank you all for joining me tonight on this Thursday evening as we discuss another true crime case. It feels so good to being back to doing 2 videos a week. I love it, and I love being here, sitting here, talking with all of you. Let's get into it. Thad John Glenn Reynolds was born on January 21st, 1968 in Rome, Georgia, to his parents, Wilburn and Kitty Reynolds. Thad had 1 brother, Ty, and 1 sister, Beverly. He was a 1986 graduate of Coosa High, where he played football and was on the wrestling team as well. Right after high school, Thad began working for Curtis Meats, driving the Otis beat-up pickup truck. Not long after that, he began working for the Frito-Lay Company. While Thad was in high school, he met homecoming queen and his high school sweetheart, Michelle Reynolds. On August 15th, 1987, not long after graduating high school, Thad and Michelle were married in Rome, Georgia. While Michelle and Thad were working, Michelle discovers that she is pregnant, and the couple gives birth to a beautiful baby girl, Olivia, in 1992. The couple was happy and overjoyed about their marriage and their sweet little girl. However, Michelle Reynolds wasn't happy just being a wife and a mother. She wanted more out of life. And it was said that she told her pastor, "You put your wife on a pedestal, but that doesn't place me on a pedestal." In 1995, Michelle Reynolds asked Thad for a divorce. He did not want a divorce. He did not believe in divorce. He wanted to keep his family alive. And even though he did not want this, he finally agreed to give Michelle a divorce in 1995. And right after the divorce, he immediately regretted it. He wanted his family back together. He had his church, Hollywood Baptist, praying every single day that the couple would get back together. He wanted Michelle so very badly. He was constantly pursuing her. And not long after they were divorced, just 2 years later, in 1997, Thad and Michelle remarried at Hollywood Baptist Church with all their friends and family. They built a new home, and they quickly filled it with 3 more little girls, Lydia, Emma, and Jenna. The couple seemed extremely happy. Thad was a deacon at Hollywood Baptist, and Michelle loved being a part of the church as well. The couple was very good friends with youth minister Scotty Harper and his wife, Paige. The couple were very close, and they started doing things together. Their kids were around the same age, and Thad and Scotty were very close, and Michelle and Paige were very close. It was said that if you saw one family, not long after you saw the other family. They were just always together. And Michelle and Paige's birthdays were just days apart. So they would celebrate their birthdays together by going to Six Flags, going out to eat, just having a good time. These 2 couples were all 4 best friends. Thad Reynolds and Scotty Harper were very best friends. Scotty Harper worked as an IT specialist. They were both very involved in their church, Hollywood Baptist, where Scotty Harper was the youth minister and Thad Reynolds was the deacon, while Paige and Michelle were 2 stay-at-home moms with very busy husbands. In the spring of 2004, Thad Reynolds announced that he is joining the ministry. He wants to be a minister. However, does Michelle Reynolds want to be a minister's wife? Michelle wants to start helping the Harpers with their youth ministries. She signs up to be a chaperone at a youth retreat. And all of a sudden, in June of 2004, Michelle Reynolds becomes acting very odd. She tells Paige Harper, her best friend, that she is no longer sharing a room with her and that she wanted her own room. She was not going to be in a room filled with a whole bunch of kids. Michelle wanted her own time and her own space. And around this time, Michelle Reynolds started to ignore her friend Paige. She wouldn't acknowledge her when she spoke to her. She wouldn't look her in the eye. She would walk away from her. And that is when Paige finally confronted Michelle and said, Michelle, have I done anything to offend you? Have I done something wrong? What is wrong with our friendship? Michelle turned around, looked at Paige in the eye and says, nothing. I just want to be around people who are on fire for God. Paige Harper was very confused by the comment that Michelle made because both couples worshiped every Sunday at church at Hollywood Baptist, and Paige said that she felt closer to God than she had ever been. So why would Michelle make this comment? Paige and Michelle grew further and further apart as best friends. They were no longer the friends they used to be. However, Michelle Reynolds became extremely close with Thad's best friend and Paige's husband, Scotty Harper. She started emailing him and they were talking constantly, going back and forth. She was constantly asking him for help with the youth ministries and wanted to constantly be around Scotty Harper. July 3rd started the holiday weekend in Rome, Georgia. The two couples met up to watch fireworks that night, and the next day, on July 4th, they met up at Hollywood Baptist. After that, they went on a picnic. The couples were all at the park together, and Paige Harper noticed that Michelle Reynolds was being very flirtatious with other men, laughing with them, flirting with them, asking other men how to show her how to throw a football. She was just extremely flirty that day. The two couples go home, and on that Monday, July 5th, the very next day, a Frito-Lay worker pulls up at work and sees a maroon minivan in the parking lot, and he sees a man coming out of Thad Reynolds' office at Frito-Lay. It's around 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't think anything of it. The minivan drives away, and the Frito-Lay worker gets out of his truck, goes inside his supervisor's office, Thad Reynolds, and that's when he finds his supervisor, Thad Reynolds, stabbed to death on the floor of his office. When police arrive at Thad Reynolds' office, they find a complete struggle. There is blood everywhere. It is obvious a struggle took place at this office. He had been stabbed around 19 times. There was trash all over the office. Who could have done this? Was this a robbery gone wrong? Was this personal? Who would have stabbed and killed a deacon of a church, a husband, a father? Police were at a standstill. They look around the area. They find an empty knife sheath and a pair of prescription eyeglasses. The witness that saw the minivan that morning says he did not get a good look at the man's face nor the license plate that drove away. The police looked around the area even more. The pastor notified Thad's family as well as his wife, Michelle Reynolds. Paige and Scotty Harper rushed to Michelle's home. Paige says she rushed upstairs. She grabbed Michelle. She hugged her. She said, I'm so sorry. She felt so bad. However, Michelle was very quiet, very stoic, didn't say much, just kind of sat there, not having really any emotion. But the police knew that this crime was personal. Like I always tell y'all, stabbing is personal because you were in that person's face. It's not like you have a gun and you are at a distance shooting at someone. You are in the person's face. You are up front with the person. You see that person. You see the life coming out of them. So police kind of figured this was a personal attack. A man comes forward and says, I know and I work with a man that drives a maroon minivan and that wears glasses and is best friends with Thad Reynolds. Yes, Scotty Harper. And that witness that worked with Scotty Harper says he knew that Scotty Harper was having an affair with someone by the name of Michelle. How did he know that? He worked at the hospital and he would work on phone lines, and sometimes he would interrupt phone lines and accidentally, trying to fix the phone line, hearing a conversation. And he said that Scotty Harper was flirty, chit-chat, like high school sweethearts with someone other than his wife and that her name was Michelle. But was Scotty Harper having an affair with his best friend's wife? Could that be possible? Was Scotty Harper a murderer? Paige, Scotty's wife, notices several things that happened that morning, the morning of Thad's murder. She noticed that Scotty Harper was missing his glasses, and she said she didn't really think of it at first because Scotty was always losing his glasses. And she said that he had a huge cut across his hand. He tells Paige that he cut his hand at the gym that day. The police want to talk to Scotty. They want to have an interview with him. Scotty Harper comes in and the police interview him. He says he lost his glasses. When they ask him where his glasses are, they ask him about the cut on his hand. He says he cut at the gym. They couldn't keep him. They could not keep him. And they were wondering also, was Scotty Harper a jealous lover, or was Michelle somehow involved in the murder of Thad Reynolds? Police believe they had their killer. Police believe that Scotty Harper was the murderer of Thad Reynolds, but they just wanted to know more, and they couldn't keep him at this time. They started looking through emails that went on between Scotty and Michelle Reynolds, and they noticed at first the emails were very innocent, with Michelle Reynolds just constantly asking Scotty Harper for help with the youth ministries. About a month before Thad's murder, the emails between Michelle Reynolds and Scotty Harper's began to change. Their tone began to change. Michelle eventually said something like, "I know I shouldn't feel this way, but..." And of course, Scotty Harper jumped right in. Michelle sent him emails of what she wanted to do to him. And he sent email in even more graphic detail of what he wanted to do to her. So they were constantly exchanging these emails. And remember that youth retreat that Scotty Harper went on, that Michelle Reynolds said, "I don't want to share a room with Paige. I want to have my own room. I don't want to be in a room with a whole bunch of kids." So Michelle Reynolds ends up staying in a room alone. And guess who comes to meet her that night? Yes, Scotty Harper. So while Michelle Reynolds' daughter is a participant of this retreat, and Scotty Harper's wife is there as a chaperone, Scotty Harper and Michelle Reynolds spend the night together in a hotel room. Yes. Can y'all believe that? That is crazy to me. The cops knew an affair was going on between these two. The night of July 4th, Michelle Reynolds tells Scotty Harper, she emails Scotty Harper, Thad Reynolds' schedule. She says this is his schedule. And she would say things like, "You're going to have to live longer if you want us to be together, because there's no way Thad would agree to a divorce." So she would constantly say things like that. She would never come out and say, "You have to hurt my husband." She would say things like, "You'll have to live longer," because she knew Thad was not going to let her get a divorce. She already knew that. She didn't want to be a divorced woman. And when police looked at Scotty Harper's emails, they noticed that he was looking at things like arson, poison, how to commit the perfect murder. And just the night before the murder on July 4th, Scotty Harper and Michelle Reynolds exchanges emails. She emails the schedule, and then he says, "I'm ready. Stop me if you have any hesitation." Michelle responds with, "I'm ready. No hesitation. I can't wait to be your bride." So basically that email was saying the two were ready and the two had planned the murder of Thad Reynolds. And just three days later, on July 8th, 2004, Scotty Harper turns himself in and is arrested for the murder of Thad Reynolds, but he isn't talking. And just 1 hour after the arrest of Scotty Harper, Michelle Reynolds is arrested in downtown Rome as she is coming out of her attorney's office. She isn't talking as well. No one would have dreamed that the pastor was having an affair with the deacon's wife. This was crazy. This was insane. No one would have dreamed this. And get this, Scotty Harper and Michelle Reynolds were arrested the day of Thad Reynolds' funeral. How sad is that? It is very heartbreaking that all these little tiny girls, all these little girls were having their parents being taken away from them. On July 13th, 2004, a couple of days after Thad's murder, police go to Scotty Harper's work to search the area even more. And they find this tile. And this tile is a type that you have to put a suction cup to pop it open, and there's things underneath this tile. And when police popped up this tile, they found Scotty Harper's bloody clothes and the knife as well. And Scotty Harper's glasses, the glasses that were found at the scene of the crime, they were the exact prescription as Scotty Harper, and the bridge measured around his nose was the same. Police had their killer. They knew they had their killer. There was so much evidence against Scotty Harper. It was crazy. It was insane the amount of evidence they had on him. However, they knew Michelle was going to be the weaker case. They didn't really have evidence on Michelle. But in my opinion, Michelle was just as well as the killer because she made Scotty Harper kill her husband. She talked him into that. He was just weak. The police also have the video from Kmart the Thursday night of Scotty Harper buying the knife to murder Thad Reynolds. The prosecution knew they wanted to seek the death penalty on Scotty Harper as well as Michelle Reynolds. And within weeks of Scotty and Michelle being in jail, they were talking back and forth to each other with letters. And every time they would write these letters, Michelle would underline certain words of Bible verses. And when you add up all of these words of these Bible verses, it said, "All I knew was that you were going to talk to him about us. Help me." Now, Scotty wasn't talking. Scotty was not talking at all. And he remained quiet until 4 years later when the prosecution handed him a deal. And the deal said, if you plead guilty and if you agree to testify against Michelle Reynolds, we will take the death penalty off the table for you and Michelle. Scotty thought about it for a while, and finally he agreed. He could save Michelle, but betray her at the same time. He says this is how it happened. He said on Thursday night, he buys the knife at Kmart. The next day on Friday, Michelle goes to the hospital, picks Scotty Harper up, and they go have lunch, then drive up to the levee and go parking like a bunch of teenagers. Just get in the back seat and just start making out with each other. And while they are engaged in this behavior, Michelle says, "Did you talk to Thad yet?" And he says no. And Scotty Harper says Michelle Reynolds just drew back. She didn't want anything to do with him. She withdrew. She got cold. She was mad. She wanted it to happen. And he was so afraid of losing Michelle that he knew he had to hurt Thad Reynolds. He says on the Monday morning, July 5th, 2004, he walked into Thad Reynolds' office. Thad Reynolds looks at him and says, "Scotty Harper, what are you doing here?" Scotty Harper looks at his best friend and says, "I want what you got." In January of 2010, Michelle Reynolds pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter and receives a 20-year sentence. Scotty Harper receives life in prison without the possibility of parole. In July of 2024, Michelle Reynolds was released from prison. But in my opinion, I believe that Michelle Reynolds should have gotten a life sentence without the possibility of parole as well, because I believe Michelle Reynolds was the real killer. Scotty Harper was just weak. He fell into her trap. Michelle was going to use him. And another thing that I've always said I've been knowing about this story for 20 years. Another thing that I've always said was, I believe that Michelle Reynolds was just using him, that she was going to use him to get rid of her husband and move on from Scotty Harper. That's the kind of person I feel Michelle Reynolds was. She was a manipulative, using woman. My final thought, I always give y'all my final thought. And my final thought is, in my opinion, I believe that Michelle Reynolds never wanted to marry Thad Reynolds. I believe that she still wanted to see other men. She wanted to be the center of attention. She wanted all eyes on her. And she just wanted someone to get rid of her husband. And it just so happened that person was Scotty Harper. He wasn't strong enough to tell her no. He couldn't tell her no. He killed his best friend because he thought he was going to be with Michelle Reynolds. And I don't care what anybody says. This is my personal opinion. I do not believe that Michelle Reynolds was going to be with Scotty Harper after the murder of her husband, Thad Reynolds. I think she was going to use him and move on with another person. That's just the way I think Michelle Reynolds was. She was that type of person. She wasn't a good person. This was a man that was a devoted Christian, that loved God, that loved his family. And it was said that he told people, I work so hard so they don't have to. That breaks my heart. He loved his family so much. Why couldn't Michelle Reynolds just walk away? Why did she have to resort to murder? She could have walked away. She could have got a divorce, but she didn't want to be a divorced woman. She thought Thad wouldn't give her a divorce. She didn't have to murder this man. And I lay more of the blame on Michelle Reynolds, even though she wasn't holding the knife. In my opinion, she is still a killer. She is still a killer. And my heart goes out to both families, the Harper and the Reynolds, because these two families went through a lot and they lost a lot. And especially Thad Reynolds' mother, father, brother, sister, and those 4 precious, beautiful little girls. I am upset that Michelle got out of prison, but she served her time and is now out of jail. I hope that y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope that you like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to press on the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne Marie. And as always, stay safe, always be aware of your surroundings, and always know that I love each and every one of y'all. And I want to tell you to have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I hope y'all have tons of fun with your family and friends, and y'all have a great, safe time. And as always, thank you for watching, and for you, I am truly grateful. I will see y'all with another video soon. Bye.